You know the feeling. You're sound asleep when suddenly something startles you awake and you're not quite sure where you are. It doesn't seem real, and you think maybe you're dreaming. That's how most people say it is. Disorienting. You're immobilized, unable to move. And the biggest danger in an emergency is waiting, not knowing how to react. Motivating residents to follow your lead is the starting point. Facilities Director James Gray.
Seniors don't follow leaders as readily because they've learned to have a healthy mistrust for leaders at times, and that's probably a good thing in a democratic society. At the same time, they respect authority.
But even fire officials can have trouble getting cooperation when residents don't know them.
When I need the resident out of their apartment or out of their living space, they won't go. When I want them to stay in their space, I can't keep them in there.
Oh, hello. Oh, so glad to see you.
Nice to see you too,
Yes,
Mrs.
it's great. Yeah.
In long-term care, residents get to see and know us. Sometimes they have perspective and knowledge of us that we ourselves don't recognize, and you can't hide. So a good, dynamic, healthy relationship is what we look for.
Safety specialist Cheryl Domnich says that relationship is what you'll be relying on in an emergency.
They would be more likely to follow your lead if you can develop that rapport with them. I would be uncomfortable with someone who could not develop that rapport or couldn't find some type of a relationship with the residents of the facility.
And facilities manager Carol Anders agrees. The residents' safety depends on your communication skills and leadership.
Not only that, their families entrust that with you as well. If I give you my mother or my father in your facility, they want to know that you are going to keep them safe from falls or from any kind of untoward thing that may happen to them. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And he's wonderful. Never given me one day's trouble.
The staff members are here for the residents. This is their home, and they need to treat the residents with respect and with intelligence. These are not residents that are prepared to live in a nursing home yet. These are residents that are prepared to be challenged.
A good tool for engaging the residents is humor.
A sense of humor is key, especially when you have much more of the men in the residential facilities have a sense of humor and require that of everyone they spend time with. This is sometimes lost on me because I don't have much of a sense of humor, but sometimes I laugh, and they're happy that I'm just laughing with them.
So, by first gaining the trust and support of the residents, you'll have the advantage you'll need in an emergency.
A simple bit of confidence in a staff member who's been properly trained, properly prepared, will come through when it's needed most. That's during a crisis.
A good emergency plan of action requires practice to be effective. Fire expert Nancy Carl says this means treating each fire exit drill as if the emergency is real.
And true, it may not be a real fire, but we don't know that initially. So you need to take it seriously, because if it is a real fire, you wait, and someone else leaves a door open, and someone else just props open another door, you could be in a really serious situation, because smoke is the killer in most fires.
And reviewing your fire exit drills is a key step in the process.
What happened? What didn't work? What was surprising to us? What didn't we anticipate? How can we improve the system?
Carol Anders and her staff improved their safety record by adopting the phrase, "Safety is not an act, it's a habit," and placing a special focus on the residents.
Too many extension cords into one plug-in, candles burning, smoking in the rooms, all of those things that are of a particular safety issue for them, but also affect the neighbors around them.
Keeping your exit pathways open and clear is another priority that's easy to overlook.
Well, I think you have to look at it as a staff person from the resident's point of view. If you have poor vision, poor hearing, poor balance, and you're trying to get from your room to the dining room, and you look at all the obstacles that are in your way. Then you start looking around over cords on the floor, spills, the things that threaten their safety.
When they come in from this
Fire Marshal Stan Spitek advises facilities to remove immediate safety dangers, both inside and outside, but he also adds,
let's not get to that point. Let's partner up and identify problems preemptively. Let's not wait for the tickets to be issued, because if the ticket's been issued, it's like the match has already been struck. It's too late. Now we've got to fix something that's gone wrong.
working closely with your local fire authority will give you additional insight for improving your plan.
It's been my experience that every fire service personnel I've ever met has been very friendly, very eager to help, and very easy to get along with. And when they come to do their inspections, it gives them an opportunity to take a look at the inside of your building and see if there's anything there that should cause them alarm. It gives them the opportunity to call your attention to what fire suppression devices are in your workplace. You know, where is the valve for your sprinkler system? When was the last time that this system was checked? These are all things that we should consider as a great service to us. They're not going to be in this building when it catches on fire. We are going to be in this building when it catches on fire.
You can lower the risk of fire deaths in your facility by learning how your fire safety systems operate and then incorporating that into your practice activities. Former State Fire Marshal Ron Coleman.
For purposes of fire and life safety, the activation and utilization of the fire alarm system is probably one of the most critical components. How do you turn it on, and what are you supposed to do once it goes off?
99% of the time, I get that person looking at the pull station saying, what do I do? It's very simple. You pull.
So touch the bottom of the door.
And while practicing is a proven way to save lives, it's not always taken seriously.
I had a group the other day that wanted to know how much we were going to pay them to come to the training session. I said, no, we don't pay you. I'm here to save your life. I'm trying to help them develop some good fire prevention habits for their safety, and it can help them both at home and at work. People really learn best by making mistakes. Let them make the mistakes during the fire drills, during training, and different other things. That's the time to make them, not when there's a real fire.
Okay, Mr. Morrison, this is the
Your residents will also benefit by practicing in advance.
Make them feel involved in their own egress plan as an individual. And so the staff can ask the residents, how can we help you if we do need to conduct an emergency evacuation?
The guidebook that comes with this program provides examples of the specific roles to be filled by your staff in an emergency. How your staff members are asked to accept their responsibility is important to your success.
This is what I want you to do. Are you comfortable with that? And then give the employee a chance to privately ask questions. What is expected of me? No one wants to be put on the spot in a staff meeting when you say, okay, Kevin, it's your job to guard the door to make sure no one else comes in. You give the person the responsibility after discussing it with them.
Matching each employee to their specific responsibility requires thought.
The receptionist at the front of the building is usually the one who knows who's in the building and who's not. So we have that individual do the head count.
And if there's a change in the staff member's job,
While they're no longer the receptionist at that point in time, they may think it's still their job to do the head count, when in fact their job may be something totally different. So it's important to reassess your evacuation plan and who's got what responsibility when you have a turnover in staff, so that you don't have two people doing the same job and one very important job is going undone.
in a severe weather emergency, your responsibilities may extend over a longer time, while community resources may be unavailable.
Disaster preparedness, as we learned from Hurricane Andrew in Florida, and I was in Florida during the time of Hurricane Andrew, involves not only surviving the catastrophe itself, but what happens in the aftermath of the catastrophe. How are we going to maintain ourselves for a period of hours and days, and then perhaps weeks and even months, with people who are stressed out, resources that aren't there, We ask our staff, particularly those who commute from a long way, if there was a disaster like this, would it be an option for them to bring their family here and live on campus with us, to be able to help in a time until life returned to normal? Another way we look at this is in terms of our supplies. How are we going to secure supplies down the road?
You may refer to your guidebook for additional ideas you can use to prepare for severe weather emergencies. In a fire emergency, you'll be able to follow the correct procedure by remembering the acronym RACE.
Rescue, alarm, confine, extinguish. Rescue people in immediate danger. Shout out the code word, fire. The next procedure is alarm. Somebody needs to turn in the alarm. People assume somebody else is going to pull the alarm. Somebody else is going to call 911.
You let us know there's an emergency, we'll get there as quickly as possible. But the longer you wait, and the more you delay that process, the more likely there's going to be loss of life or property.
Confine is the third action you'll take in a fire emergency.
Confinement, especially in a fire situation, might be the most important step. It might be something as simple as closing a door.
And overlooking the importance of confining the fire can quickly complicate the emergency.
An example of that might be that leaving a building and leaving every door wide open behind you as you leave just makes the fire problem even worse.
Extinguish is the last priority in the four-step RACE procedure. You'll need to know where your fire extinguishers are located, how to operate them, and also how to know when the fire is too large to fight. When you incorporate the four-step RACE procedure with the leadership skills you've developed, and then following the emergency plan you've practiced, your staff will be working toward your overall goal.
They ought to be doing everything they possibly can to assure that if there is an event, that everybody gets out, the fire department gets there as quickly as possible, and the fire is controlled to be as small as possible. And what does that require? It requires an awareness, it requires training, it requires a good working relationship with your local fire department, and it requires that you practice what you preach.